Hi, I'm Suzanne Ross of the Raven Foundation, where we work to educate people about the origins of conflict and human desire and how that conflict can often lead to scapegoating as a resolution. So, what I want to talk with you today about is the adaptation of Ethan Frome, the classic novel by Edith Wharton, that we did a commentary on at Looking Glass Theater. It was an original adaptation by the playwright Laura Eason, who's an ensemble member at Looking Glass. And one of the things I love about my job here is I get to learn a lot about things that I probably should have learned in high school. And one of those things is Ethan Frome. I never read it before, but to get ready for the show, I did read the novel, and I was lucky enough to be able to talk with Laura Eason about her adaptation process and the meaning that she found in the novel that she wanted to portray on the stage. And I was also able to learn a lot from Rosemary Erickson Johnson, who was our scholar who did the commentary for the show. So you can, as background, watch. Listen to my interview with Laura or listen to the lecture by Dr. Johnson or read her essay that she wrote for the Looking Glass Study Guide. But what I want to do here is just highlight some things that were really important for me and for the Raven Foundation in this novel and in particular in this adaptation. And that is that the way in which Laura Eason's adaptation really highlighted the elements of rivalry in the novel and showed both how the rivalry can lead to destructive behavior, but also how we can resist the temptation to enter into rivalry with one another. So first I want to look at the character of Zena, who is Ethan's wife, and she is one of those characters in literature that really are known as the villain, the bad guy. And when I talked with the cast of the show afterwards, Lisa Tahero, the actress who was playing Xena, actually said she was a little frightened of the task because of that. But one thing she came to understand about Xena was that she was motivated by fear. And I want to talk about that because at the beginning of the novel, Xena is all confidence and competence. She is a woman who has expertise in nursing. It was a role that women played at the turn of the 20th century. And Xena plays it to perfection, and she gets a lot of satisfaction about being good at what she does, about being able to take care of others and take care of the people who are the part of the family of the sick and suffering person. So she's a woman who enjoys being in control of a situation and who enjoys the respect and admiration she gets from that role. Now, very quickly after she marries Ethan, she succumbs to a series of illnesses herself, and they are illnesses that she takes on of the people that she had nursed. The very same illnesses that she took care of in others, she takes on. And so the question is, how does that happen? Why does that happen? And I think it's fair to say that Xena is actually experiencing pain. I don't think she's lying about that. But I think the origin of her suffering, as it says in the novel and in the adaptation, no doctor can pinpoint, what's the physical cause of her suffering. And that's because I think what happened in her relationship with Ethan is that she somehow felt his attention and admiration slipping. And one way to restore that is to take on the role of the sick person, because as much as someone who's competent gets attention, so does someone who is sick get a great deal of attention. And Xena was sick in such a way that she maintained control over what she needed and what was best for her. She was always still managing that part of the relationship with Ethan. So even though she went from being the nurse to being the sick person, she still maintained that position of control and authority and center of attention in her relationship with Ethan. And as Lisa Tahero, as the actress, said, what Zena's fear was about was losing that position, because that's how she knows what she's worth, and that she's worth anything to someone. So if she's not in a position where she can control people's admiration and their attention on her, then she fears perhaps that she will lose not just their attention but their love, and actually knowing whether she's lovable. So it is a fear of loss of sense of self and identity too. So the other place that I want to look at with you where rivalry shows itself is in the role of the narrator, because while Zena is in rivalry with Ethan for who's going to be in the position of power, what we see with the narrator is someone who's not in rivalry with anyone. And Laura Eason pointed this out beautifully, and it's one of the things she wanted to bring out in her adaptation, was that the narrator is the one who tells us the story of Ethan. He comes, he's a stranger in town, he talks to some of the local people who know Ethan, and they give him some bare facts. They won't enter into any gossip about Ethan with the narrator. So the narrator has to fill in the gaps of Ethan's story himself. How did he come to be this crippled man? How did he come to be living the last 20 years not only with his wife, but with the crippled cousin of his wife? And so let me just read to you what Laura Eason said about this, about how she envisioned the narrator. She says that, of course, it's the narrator who tells us Ethan's story, and there's something about watching him make up Ethan's journey that, to me, and I'm quoting Laura directly, that to me makes the story ultimately about storytelling and about empathy, because this narrator could very easily have looked at Ethan Frome and constructed not a compassionate story for him. He could have made him bitter or aggressive or competitive or dark. Instead, he constructed this beautiful, moral, complicated, sympathetic man. And to me, to Laura, that is one of the major things that I walk away from the story with. We have this opportunity of looking at others compassionately and filling in the blanks of their narrative with empathy and optimism. And when we choose not to do that, I feel we are all a little bit worse off. And the more generous we can be to the mystery of the other, I think the better off we all are. And that really struck me, that what I think Laura is talking about here, and in her faithfulness to the novel, what Edith Wharton was doing as well, is showing us two alternate narratives. The narrator gives us the ethical narrative, the compassionate storytelling. But what we're doing as readers, and I confess I was doing it myself, I kept trying to find a way to gossip about Ethan, to find where he was a failure, where he could have done better, where he had made mistakes. And that unethical storytelling is the gossip, is the way that we all engage in the same thing that Zena does, in that we need to feel that we're the better in any comparison we're making with other people. We need to be reassured constantly that we're good, that we're lovable, and we often use negative narratives, gossip about others, to reassure ourselves about our own lovability. So what we have in Ethan Frome is both the best and the worst that's available to human beings, and it is a novel well worth reading. And if you're in the Chicago area and have a chance to see Laura Eason's adaptation, it'd be well worth it. I would love to hear your comments on this, and I hope you enjoy all the resources that we have for you to explore this wonderful novel. Thank you.